Hello. It's been a long day. I've been out shooting all day today. Bunch of infrared photography, just roaming the streets downtown. Anyway, on the Fujifilm lenses, there's a specific warning I need to mention to you, and not only to the 50 to 140, but specifically the 90 millimeter, and what are the other ones? The 55 to 200. I think there are 5 lenses total. Yeah, the 56 millimeter also, but not so much. But certainly so the 90 millimeter, the 50 to 140, the 100 to 400, definitely the 90 millimeter. Anyway, on the 90 millimeter, for example, people have actually talked about the actual thud when you just actually have the lens off the camera or when the camera's off. Let me see if you can hear it here. I know you could hear that through the microphone. Anyway, what that specifically is, there's a quad linear motor that drives the driven section, the autofocus elements, and those are the 4th and 5th elements, I believe, on the 90 millimeter, for example. The only warning that you need to have with like this lens and the 55 to 200 and definitely the 50 to 140, which is actually I was shooting with today, including the 90 millimeter, is that you don't actually transport these, or if you have them in your camera bag, you don't actually transport them or pack them around all day horizontally. So they're actually not sliding. The reason for that is twofold. While the actual impact is slightly buffered at the end, they are hard stops. So they actually are hard stops, and they actually come forward and slide back, but there's also flexiboard that leads to the driven elements on the 4th and 5th floating sections of this lens, and actually letting them fall forward and backwards like that. You could actually imagine this laying horizontally in your camera bag, and as you're walking, the actual lens is doing this number. No bueno. No dice. Not good. If you're going to stick it in your camera bag, make sure it's sitting like this, or if you're going to go on a long trip, make sure that it's actually stored vertically. Now, is that something to worry about, that it's laying horizontally in the back of your car? No, of course not. Obviously not. Or if it's in your camera bag, transporting it from your house to on location? No, certainly not. But walking around, or if you have it in your car, that the actual elements, the actual lenses should be vertical like this. Whether up or down doesn't make any difference. Just don't have them in your camera bag, laying flat in your camera bag, doing this number for 5 or 6 hours as you're walking around. So that's something to keep in mind. It would cause premature failure of the lens system. Not only could it actually cause a decentered lens from that constant thwacking back and forth, but the actual flexiboards that actually power the driven elements, in this case the 4th and 5th elements of the autofocus elements of the 90 millimeters. This is not a design flaw. It's not something that Fuji needs to have fingers pointed at. It's just something that you need to keep in mind. The best design systems in the world, in the user manual it would say something like, it would recommend it if you don't do this when this is going on, or it's recommended that, to keep that nice Corinthian leather and your Lamborghini looking good, that you don't park it out in like the Phoenix sun when it's 120 degrees outside. We recommend that, for the longevity of your Corinthian leather that's on your dashboard of your new Bentley or Lamborghini, that you don't park it in the stuff like it kind of actually goes right along those lines. So don't have this in your camera bag all day long horizontally. Have it vertical. Same thing with the 50 to 140, the 55 to 200, 10 to 24 barely moves. That's not an issue. 100 to 400. There are a couple of others that come to mind, but certainly so the 90 millimeter and the 50 to 140 and the 55 to 200 Fujifilm lenses. So keep that in mind and just transport them or pack them around vertically in your camera bag, not horizontally. Okay? Pretty simple, easy to remember. Yeah. Okay.